Hey friends, welcome to this week's video. Before I get started, I do want to make a pretty quick disclaimer regarding things on this review and the next one's coming up. I am currently in the market for a 50mm lens, so as a result, I'm going to be shooting my reviews using those lenses, but just focus each video on one of those lenses, so I can get an understanding how this works with my workflow. Do I like this sort of style, and can I shoot with it? So while I am focusing on headphones for this review, I'm kind of getting double duty in here. So for the purposes of all of that, I am shooting this particular shot and everything in this video with the Voigtlander Nocton 50mm f1.2 lens. It is a manual lens, so if things are, out of focus, they're not going to unfocus or refocus because it's a manual lens. But I am learning this lens, so please forgive me if some of the shots look weird or things aren't perfect. But yeah, I'm trying to get, double reviewing done so I can get through all these materials. But hope you guys enjoy. Please tell me how you feel about this lens, what you like about the vibe. It'll help me make a more informed decision with my purchase and will contribute to my future review. But enough talking about this lens. Let us get into the actual review of the Galaxy Buds Pro. And if you haven't seen, we've done the actual first impressions above, and that's where I kind of give you the out-of-the-box feel of it as well as the specifications. So if you're interested in the specifications, I won't be going over in this video, but you can see it in the one above. But since we're not going over specs, I do want to go over day in the life and kind of how I felt with to start. After that, we'll get into the actual sound samples and other things that you guys need to know. But using this day-to-day over the last month, I found that it is pretty reliable. I don't have any issues with it really from a broad spectrum. So if you really don't want to stick through this entire review, I would say that it's pretty good in terms of it'll cover your bases. However, when I was running through this, I think there were a few different things I wanted to make sure that it kept up with me, and one of those is battery life. I have a lot of wireless headphones, and battery life is going to be really important just because some of them don't meet the specifications they say. However, the Galaxy Buds do. So they rate them as, 5 hours with ANC on and 8 with them off, and I found that that was pretty accurate. I've tested this for about 3 weeks using it every day for my conference calls, and it met the need. So if I was out and about, or I was in the same room as my roommate when he's taking calls, I usually have ANC on, and it would at least get me through the first half of my meetings. However, usually if I'm in my room, I can just keep it with ANC off, and it would just last beyond even, it would last beyond that time. Because even when I'm using it as a hybrid and I'm using a lot of phone calls, it would still make it through. So I think overall the battery life is accurate. In terms of connectivity, I never really had issues. In fact, the Galaxy Buds Pros are probably the best connection I've had. So I have a brick house, kinda, or I have a lot of brick components to my apartment, and I usually have issues getting or maintaining a connection throughout. So if I leave my phone in the living room, by the time I get to the kitchen or the back exercise room, I can get some choppiness. However, I never really had that issue with the Galaxy Buds Pro. The connection even kind of stood still if I left it in my room and I went downstairs. So the connection is probably the most solid that I've seen, and it was really consistent in terms of audio. I didn't have issues with codec issues. There was no lag between any sort of video or media I was consuming from a visual perspective, so I think they've done a good job on terms of that to make sure that it's a seamless experience for everyone. Another thing that I've noticed that I think is important to put in here is comfort, because the comfort and fit is a little bit strange to me, not in the sense that it's uncomfortable, but in other ways. So the fit, it is perfectly good for your ear. Again, it doesn't have any hooks or anything to make sure that security is there, but using this in exercising, running around with it, doing burpees, I haven't had issues at all with it slipping out, and it, for the most part, stays in place. There's not much more adjustment. It's more of like a psychosomatic feel. So in the instance of the Jabras, like the Jabra 75Ts or 85Ts, those are really light, and they fit securely, and I almost forget that they're there. However, with the Galaxy Buds Pro, they're secure throughout. However, for some reason, I feel like they're so light that they feel like they're coming out, but they don't. So I found myself adjusting it a lot just because I wanted to confirm that it was in there. Like, I guess the Jabras hug your ear a little bit more, so while you can forget about them, you can kind of feel them present there. Sometimes I would just feel like the galaxies are coming out or slipping out, but they're never close to doing that. So I don't know how to describe that to y'all, but that's just a feeling I get. So I think that some people that are having like fit issues are just like feeling that sensation of it slipping out. So like, I've sweat real hard in these. I've put these through the paces and I've never had issues with it slipping out. It just had that weird feeling of that. So yeah, it's hard for me to say these something that I would definitely recommend that you guys try out. But when I was investigating it a little bit more, if you look at the actual ear tip shape, it's a little bit proprietary. So it's kind of egg shaped. And as a result, if you wanted to use other ear tips, like, you know, Complies or something else, you probably would have a hard time finding one that would fit unless they started making one specific for these. But they are unique to an extent, and even the ear tip themselves have a unique shape and closure point to them to make sure that they fit on that ear tip properly. So fit is something that's going to be something very, very important for you guys to try if you're interested in these headphones, but overall they're secure from my perspective. So day in the life, they've been pretty seamless and I don't have much issue with them at all. And I thought it was easy to carry them around. It is a super small package that I never had to worry about it bulging out of my pocket or finding a place for it. It was just very simple to carry. But yeah, I think overall I can recommend it if you're looking for something that's like a hybrid. But let's get into the sound samples in terms of microphone and audio quality to make sure that these fit your guys' needs from that perspective. So this is recording using the Galaxy Bud Pro's microphones. So hopefully this will give you a good understanding of what this sounds like over a call. Again, it may not be perfect because of, you know, cell reception and things like that, but this should be a decent representation. Unfortunately, because the Parrot app that I'm using kind of seems to be removing the different sound modes, like ambient sound mode, etc., like that, from these recordings, I don't think it's a really good way to represent that. However, I have noticed that there are differences. So if you're using it passively or if you're using active noise canceling, it seems to be performing pretty well and people like how, you know, voices are replicated through it. However, if you have an ambient sound mode on, I have gotten complaints that I came in robotic or it came in just digitized and it didn't sound like my natural voice, which they're used to. So it does seem like there is a slight difference based on what mode you accidentally left it in, but you can always swap it. However, you know, when you're using your phone mode, most likely, or phone mode, when you're on a call, generally you would have ambient sound mode off and you'd have active noise canceling on, you know, just to block out your surroundings. So I don't think there should be any issues. And overall, it's been great on conferences. I haven't had choppy reception. Again, I've been coming very clear and the talk time has been very, very solid. So I haven't had issues with this thing dying out too soon. I've been able to get through meetings. I've been able to, pretty much get through a half day of constant use on the phone. So if you're looking to hybrid this as sort of your conference headset, I think you're pretty good. But I do want to make sure that we go over those sound modes so you do understand how this sounds. So let's move to that side. So here's how the Galaxy Buds Pro behave when you don't have any sort of noise canceling features or transparency mode on. This is just a passive ability for it to isolate. And we will turn on active noise canceling in 3, 2, 1, and now. This is active noise canceling low, so we can see what you guys can hear on the lower setting, but now I will go move it into high mode and see if it blocks out even more noise. Okay, so now we're going to move into the next mode in 3, 2, 1, and... So now we're on ambient sound low. You can see if you guys can hear my voice more clearly now that we're outside of the active noise canceling realm. But I'm now going to move it into medium in 3, 2, 1, and medium. So this is the medium sounding. Do you hear more of my voice now? Because I'm about to switch it into high in 3, 2, 1, and this is what it sounds in high mode. Again, this is probably where most of you will live, between the medium and high kind of realm for ambient sound. And then if you want to hear like a Superman, then you want to go with extra high. So here you should be able to hear my voice pretty clearly. You can tell me if it sounds robotic to you or not, but this is what the maximum ability or the maximum sound that these headphones can let in using its ambient sound mode. So as we talk about that extra high mode, I did want to emphasize some of the sound signature there. Like, I'm not sure if it came through in that recording, but it does emphasize your P's and T's a little bit. So you get kind of that plosive effect when you're in that mode, and it does get a little bit robotic. But the other thing outside of that is it's so crisp. Like, I can hear this so clearly, like it's right next to my head. Like, just the rub of the fabric sounds like it's right there inside of my ear. So I did set up a slight test to set up a ring light just so you guys can kind of hear what that sounds like with the headphones on extra high mode. All right. So on this, I kind of wanted to show you how powerful the extra high mode is. So I'm going to set up this ring light just so you can kind of see how crispy it is when I move things around. Hey Google, stop. So yeah, let me know what you thought. So now that we got microphone and sound modes out of the way, I want to make sure that you guys get an understanding of how these sound in comparison to the Neural Loops and the Sennheiser TW2s. I think that's a very common ask when doing the earbud reviews, because those two have very distinct audio signatures that, you know, kind of put them on the top of the audio game. So let's go into the sound samples that I recorded, and y'all can tell me what you think. So from my perspective, I don't think that the Galaxy Buds compare to the other two. So I think that they sound great and they're very reliable. And if you haven't heard a lot of different headphones, I think most people will like the sound signature from it. However, it just doesn't sound as refined as the TW2s in terms of clarity and, you know, separation, as well as I don't think that it has enough thump or sort of defining characteristics of the Neural Loops. So to me, there's just nothing that sets it apart from other headphones, but the sound signature is pleasant. And again, it'll fit most genres, so it's very middle of the road in terms of sound. But again, you're really just trading off overall reliability and performance and battery life for perfect sound. So the TW2s, obviously great balanced sound, very neutral signature in comparison, but it has trash battery life. Just terrible battery life. And then the Neural Loops sound better in a lot of different ways. They're not as neutral, but I think they just sound more dramatic. They sound better with movies and things like that, as well as, you know, the fit is a little bit more secure because of the loops. However, they're not truly wireless headphones, and they take a little bit getting used to. They're just the gestures are a little bit more nuanced, and there's just not as many gestures as what the Galaxy Buds has. So they still sound great. They're great workout headphones, but from a features perspective, in terms of like everyday function, the Galaxy Buds Pros are probably easier to use for most people. So that kind of leads into what do I think about these and should you get these? I think that for most people, if you like all the features that they have, this is a worthy, you know, a really worthy headphone that is easy to recommend. Like, it will meet all of your needs. I think the only way that you may not is if you really emphasize and want a unique and distinct sound from your headphones or from your earbuds. So like it's kind of like a balance. It's kind of like a trade-off. So if you want like superior sound and you're willing to give away some features and conveniences, then you may want to try the Sennheisers or the Neuraloops. However, if you want stellar battery, if you want really responsive touch gestures, you want really good ANC, you want like a bunch of cool sound features, like that voice detect and things like that, it's hard to not recommend the Galaxy Buds Pro, because it's not like it has terrible sound. It has very, very solid sound that would work across various use cases, whether that be calls, whether that be movies, whether that be music. It'll just meet that need, and it's just so simple in comparison. They've done so well to make this like an all-rounder that it's hard for me to see that you regretting this as a purchase. But it is something that I think that you guys should try before you buy. But I think regardless, you won't have much sort of buyer's remorse if you go down this route. Anyway, if you guys want more about the different cool features like voice detect, the application, or specifications, check out my first impressions. I go way deeper into that. This was more about the comparison and the actual sound samples. So, but yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up everything that I wanted to talk about these headphones for this review. If you guys have questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll get to them as soon as I can. Thank you guys for sticking around and watching this second part of the Galaxy Buds Pro review. I do appreciate all of the inputs that you guys have been giving me over the past few weeks in terms of things for audio, topics you want me to talk about, as well as video presentation, things that you like to see. Again, please let me know how you like this lens, what you think about it. It is a little bit different vibe and everything's a little bit more intimate than I'm used to, but something that I'm working on. But if you are new here, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, doing all the things that you normally do on a video that you like and love. And if you're returning, I'm really loving that you guys are vibing with some of the new content I'm putting out there, from like, you know, in-depth sound samples from different music, comparisons where I guide you through the music I'm listening to and what to listen for. It's just new things that I'm trying and experimenting content-wise, and it's cool to see that you guys are liking it and I'm not just shooting these things out there for no reason. But if you guys do have suggestions for new content or other things you'd like to see, please put them in the comments and I'll get to them as soon as I can. But yeah, as always, appreciate you guys, and I'll see you very soon. Peace.